I never imagined that owing money could drag my soul into eternal darkness, but I saw it with my own eyes. That night, I found myself standing before a gate unlike anything I had ever seen, tall, blackened with fire, and wrapped in heavy chains. From within I heard screams that pierced deeper than any human cry could. The stench of burning flesh filled my nostrils, and a heavy wind howled, pulling me closer. I tried to run, but invisible chains locked my feet to the ground. A voice thundered from behind the gate. "Because of your debts, the gate of hell opens for you." I shook my head violently. No, this cannot be. I only owed men money, not God. But the voice laughed with cruelty. Then I saw souls being dragged in, crying, begging, cursing their fate. And slowly, the massive gate began to open for me. Before I continue, I want to pause and thank each one of you who has been supporting this channel. Your prayers, your comments, and even the way you share these testimonies with others, it means more than you know. These are not just stories, they are warnings and lifelines for souls that may be one step away from eternity. If you are new here, I welcome you with love. And if you have been following us, may God bless you richly. Please take a moment right now and write in the comments where you are watching from. I love to see the nations represented, and it reminds me that the gospel of Christ is reaching far and wide. Your support makes you more than just viewers. You are part of a family that spreads light in a very dark world. My name is Daniel, and the story I am about to share began in 2018. Though the roots stretched far back, I grew up in a Christian home, but I never really understood what it meant to follow Christ. I went to church because my parents insisted. I sang in the choir, raised my hands during worship, but deep down, I was empty. I lived my life as though eternity was a faraway rumor. When I became a young man, I chased after success, the way a drowning man gasps for air. I wanted to be rich, to prove to myself and to the world that I could rise from poverty. That desire led me into a dangerous snare. Debts. At first, it was harmless. A small loan to start a business, then another loan to cover the first. Before long, I was buried under numbers that I could never repay. On the outside, I looked normal. I wore a smile, shook hands at church, even prayed when people asked me to. But inside, I was sinking. Debt is not just numbers on paper, it is a chain around the soul. I borrowed from friends, from banks, from anyone who would listen. I lied. I promised what I knew I could not deliver. My nights were sleepless, my days filled with pretense. I carried shame everywhere I went. There were times I opened my Bible, hoping to find comfort. Instead, I felt condemnation. Verses about honesty, about owing no man, struck me like arrows. Still, I pushed them aside. God understands, I told myself. Everyone is in debt these days. It's normal. But nothing about my life was normal. My marriage began to suffer. My children saw me snapping in anger for no reason. I avoided calls from creditors. I even avoided God. Prayer felt like standing before a wall of iron. I still called myself a Christian. I believed heaven was real. But hell, I hardly thought of it. In my mind, hell was for murderers, witches, and those who openly cursed God. Not for someone like me. I had sins, yes, but debts. Surely, debts were earthly matters, not eternal ones. I remember one evening in particular, sitting alone in my room. My head was heavy with calculations. If I borrowed from this person, I could pay that one. If I delayed this payment, maybe I could breathe another week. I was trapped in an endless cycle. As I scribbled on a piece of paper, a thought entered my mind. What if I die like this? I shook it off quickly. Death was far from me. I thought. I was still strong, still young, but deep in my chest, I knew something was wrong. My heart often raced as though it carried a hidden clock ticking down. Still, I told no one. Pride kept me silent. Shame chained my tongue. I pretended everything was fine, even as I was crumbling inside. I was a man drowning in invisible waters, smiling on the surface, but gasping underneath. And then in one single night, the weight of my debts did more than crush my mind. It dragged my soul to the very place I thought I would never see. It happened on a rainy night, in June 2018. I had spent the whole day running from one creditor to another, promising what I knew I could not fulfill. My body was exhausted, but my mind would not rest. When I finally lay down, my chest began to tighten. At first, I thought it was stress. I tried to breathe deeply, but instead, it felt as though invisible hands were squeezing the life out of me. I called out weakly to my wife, but no sound came. My vision blurred, the room spun. Then, with one last gasp, everything went silent. I felt myself slip away from my body. One moment I was staring at the ceiling. The next I was floating above my bed, watching my wife shake me, crying, calling my name. My children's voices echoed in the background, but I couldn't respond. A chill wrapped around me, colder than anything on earth. Then I heard it, a low, dreadful sound like chains being dragged across stone. Suddenly I was pulled, not upward, but downward. It felt like a giant magnet had gripped my soul. I tried to resist, but there was no strength left in me. The pull grew stronger until I was swallowed into a darkness, so thick I couldn't even see my own hands. In that darkness, I heard voices, not gentle whispers, but piercing cries of agony. Men, women, even children. Their screams echoed, bouncing off unseen walls. The air was heavy with the smell of sulfur, burning flesh, and something rotten, something beyond decay. I gagged, but I could not escape it. And then in the distance I saw it. A gate, towering higher than any building I had ever known, made of blackened iron, covered in fire, wrapped with chains that rattled endlessly. Demons as tall as giants stood guard, their eyes glowing like molten lava. Every time the gate opened, a wave of heat and screams burst forth, shaking me to my core. As I was dragged closer, I noticed something horrifying. Many of the souls being pulled into that gate were ordinary people, not murderers, not thieves. Some looked like businessmen, mothers, young adults. They cried out things like, "I only cheated a little. I only lied to protect myself. I only owed a debt I couldn't pay." And the demons laughed as they pushed them in. When I reached the gate, one of the guards pointed a burning finger at me and growled, "Because of your debts, this gate opens for you." I fell to my knees shaking. No, debts are earthly matters. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't curse God. But then another voice thundered from inside the flames. "Your debts were more than money. You borrowed lies. You borrowed pride. You borrowed sin. You lived owing man and owing God, yet you never repented. You cannot pay, so you must stay." Terror, unlike anything I had ever known, consumed me. I clawed at the ground, screaming, "Please, not me. Please God, help me." The chains rattled, the gates creaked open wider, and the heat of hell itself washed over my face. And in that moment, I believed I was finished. Just as the gates creaked open, and the demons prepared to drag me inside, a light pierced through the suffocating darkness. It wasn't like the weak glow of a candle or the harsh glare of the sun. No, this light carried power, authority, and purity. The demons shrieked and stumbled back, covering their twisted faces. The heat that once burned me began to retreat, replaced by a peace that felt both foreign and familiar. Out of the brilliance, a voice thundered, yet it was gentle. It echoed, not only in the air, but inside my very soul. "This one is not finished yet. Release him." The ground trembled. The chains that had wrapped my spirit fell off instantly. I collapsed, shaking, staring into the radiance. Though I could not see a face clearly, I knew it was Jesus. Every fiber of my being recognized him. "Lord, I am guilty," I cried. "I deserve this. My debts, My lies, my pride, they are too many. And the voice replied, yes, your debts are many, but I paid a debt you could never pay. My blood was the price, yet you lived ignoring it, as though my sacrifice was nothing. Still, I have chosen to show you mercy. Go back and warn them. Tears streamed down my face. I wanted to remain in that light forever. It felt like home, love, warmth, and safety, all at once. But his words burned into me. Go back and warn them. I pleaded, Lord, how can I face them? Who will believe me? Then came the answer. Tell them this sin is the greatest debt. Every lie, every hidden pride, every compromise is a loan against eternity. And unless they let my blood pay it, the gates of hell will open for them too. Tell them, time is short. The words cut through me, sharper than any sword. My heart pounded. I wanted to promise him everything, to give him all of me. Suddenly, the light grew brighter and brighter until I couldn't bear it. I screamed, not in fear, but in awe. Then, with a violent force, I felt myself being sucked backward, out of that realm of fire and light, through the thick darkness, and back into my body. My eyes shot open. I was on the floor, my wife still weeping over me, shaking me, shouting my name. Air filled my lungs in a rush, and I began to sob uncontrollably. I had been to the gate of hell, I had heard the verdict, and I had been pulled back by mercy alone. From the moment I opened my eyes that night, I knew I could never live the same again. My wife held me, confused and terrified, but I could only cry. Every breath I took felt like a gift, every second a mercy I did not deserve. The very next morning, I confessed everything. I told my family about the debts, the lies, the shame I had hidden. It was painful. My pride shattered into pieces, but the relief of truth washed over me like living water. I began to call those I owed, not with excuses this time, but with honesty. Some mocked me, some forgave me, some demanded payment. Yet in my heart, I knew that clearing my earthly debts was only a shadow of the greater debt Jesus had already paid. Slowly, my life began to change. I stopped chasing money like it was my savior. I stopped pretending in church. I started praying again, not shallow prayers, but cries from the depths of my soul. I read the Bible with new eyes. Every word felt alive, burning with urgency. Now when I see people entangled in lies, greed, or even harmless compromises, my heart trembles. I cannot stay silent. I tell them, I have seen the gate. I have smelled the fire. Don't wait until it is too late. I live more simply now, with gratitude for small things. My greatest treasure is not in what I own, but in the mercy that pulled me back from hell's gate. My brother and sister, hell is not a storybook. I stood before its gate, and I tell you, it is more real than the ground beneath your feet. Debts are not only money, sin itself is debt. Every lie, every hidden thought, every compromise is a loan against eternity. If Jesus has not covered it with his blood, the gate of hell waits. Please do not play with your soul. Repent now. Surrender your life to Christ fully. Remember these words. What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Eternity is closer than you think. Thank you for listening to my testimony. I don't share this to entertain, but to warn, because eternity is real. I was shown mercy, but not everyone gets another chance. Please, take a moment to reflect on your own life. If Jesus returned tonight, would you be ready? I would love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments where you are watching from, and what part of this testimony spoke to your heart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. May God keep you safe, and until next time, stay ready.